Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Inês, I'm an artist and illustrator, and for today's video I thought I would try an art supplies that I bought recently, and I was always very interested to have my hands on it and try it for the first time, which is my Farber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matt. So I bought this and talked about this in my latest video, my art supply haul. It always intrigued me because what they state is that basically this is a matte graphite. As we know, graphite is quite reflective to light, and when you draw it and you put a light on top of it, generally it will reflect the light and it will be very difficult sometimes to photograph it and all of that. So that's one of the problems that for me, if they resolve it in a way, I think it should be worth it. So they say that the Pitt Graphite Matte is the world's first that stands for reduced reflection on paper for maximum tonal value, density and incredible depth effect. The Pitt Graphite Matte is extra break resistant, light fast and features environmental water-based varnish. It is available in 8 degrees of hardness, HB, 2B, 4B, 6B, 8B, 10B, 12B and 14B. So while I'm trying this for the first time, what I'm going to look for is, first of all, the thing that I want to see if they actually are good at, which is the reflection. See if this is actually a type of material that doesn't allow the light to be as reflective as the other types of graphite that we know. They are stating that it is more resistant to breakage. So I will check for that as well, and I will also try to see my experience using this product and see if it changes for any reason. So since I've never tried this before, it might be a different type of feel while you are drawing it. So I will talk all about it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my render sketchbook from Crescent, as I always have been in the past few videos. So I'm going to test this because I also have some sketches here that I've done with my Blackwing matte pencils, and I can just compare directly if one is more reflective than the other. So if you are interested to know how my experience is with this new product, please keep watching the video. I started by swatching each pencil. I wanted to check for the blackness and blending capacity, and my first acknowledgement was that this type of graphite is quite different from the regular one. It's tougher than I thought it would be and not as smooth. I would say that the numbers are not completely in sync with the other graphite numbers, so an HB here would behave more like a 2H. But actually, since like the 8B, 10B, 12B and 14B, they are quite black, so they work really well. The first feeling of using these pencils reminded me of using those coloring pencils that are a bit waxy, you know? And so my first few minutes weren't very promising, even though I could already see that the reflection was already not as strong. The funny thing is that the more I would use these pencils, they became a bit smoother, so I think because they were new, they had a varnish or a protective seal on the graphite that made them feel a bit more waxy. I chose to draw a fairy folk because I haven't in ages, and fantasy is one of my non-so-secret loves. So I tried to use all of the pencils from the HB to the 14B, and I started in the first sketch by using them in a very controlled way. I started by doing a base with an HB, and then I used basically every single weight of pencil just to try and see how they would react, and they actually are very good at blending. They didn't feel as hard at this moment, and the more I used them, the more I was liking them. And the blackness of the 14B is quite strong. I used also the smudger, and I didn't like it very much because I'm not very used to using them, but I felt it was a bit hard. But I think I need to test it more to be sure. So in this second sketch, I was a bit more free and tried to experiment with some more expressive lines. I used mainly the higher numbers, so from 10 to 12, uh, just because I felt it would work best for this type of drawing, and I just wanted something really quick and not as thought out as the first drawing. For this sketch, I started by using I think it was a HB as my base, and basically I did the whole drawing in that, and then I just continue doing the accents with the higher numbers, so with the 14B pencil, which the more I used it, the more I like it, and the 14B for me, it's actually the one that is very worth it in my opinion. I think in general the sketches were looking really good, and the more I used the product, the more I forgot it wasn't regular graphite, so it started growing on me. The smudging of this graphite is basically very similar to normal graphite. I didn't feel it was harder to blend or to make a transition into a different shade. So in that sense, I think it's very similar to general graphite. So at this point I was just having fun. I was trying to just test different things, see the power of these pencils for line sketching. In the latest one I used more lines, in the others I did a bit more shading. And actually at this point I was just enjoying it. I was still doubting that it wasn't completely matte, which I got into the conclusion that actually it isn't absolutely 100% matte. I will show you in a bit that basically when you compare this to normal graphites, there's a huge difference, and I could see that because generally at this point with this amount of graphite pencil it would already be a bit difficult for me to see everything and not try different angles to actually see the full drawing, because I work with a light on top of the sketches, so sometimes when I'm working with graphite it just stays a bit more difficult. So in this latest drawing, I really liked how it looks. I tried also to have fun with the sketches, so I tried different facial expressions, different angles, and overall I was just more focused on the actual performance of the pencils and the sketches, but I ended up with a spread in my sketchbook that I actually truly like. And as I said before, the more I used this product, the more I liked it, and in the end it really grew on me, because at first I was not happy with it. I was just feeling that it felt like the cheap coloring pencil, but I do feel 100% that once you break that first barrier and use the pencils a little bit, they will become softer. So have that in mind. Maybe sharpen them first. I didn't on purpose because they were sharpened already, and I wanted to see how they would perform without me sharpening them at first.
This sketch started really bad, but in the end I actually really liked it. So this is the final result of the sketch, and even here you can see that you don't see any major reflection once I move the different angles. And here I'm just testing different angles, and you can see there's a bit of reflection, and I'm moving it quite a lot in front of the light bulb. But when you actually compare it directly, you can see that night and day. Like, it's so reflective with the black wing pencil, because obviously in some areas I did put a lot of pressure, and on purpose, because I know the other pencils is where you can see the major reflection. And even though there's a little bit of reflection, it's not 100% matte. I would say it's more of a satin finish, but it does do what they tell, which is a reduced reflection. And I think in the end the product really works.
So I hope you enjoyed my first impressions of this product, like the Farber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matt. Honestly, it was a roller coaster of emotions. As you know, I was talking while I was showing you my sketches, and I told you what I felt while I was doing this. Basically, in the beginning I didn't like it so much because they were very tough to use. They were quite resistant to the paper. I think it might be because of the varnish. So once you break the seal of the varnish, they start behaving more as normal graphites. I also felt like in the beginning that I was still seeing a bit of reflection, but the difference was when I actually compared it to my other sketches that I've done with my Blackwing matte pencils, and honestly it's night and day. Even though like it's not 100% matte, it still has a little of reflection because I used a lot of pressure in some areas, so I think it's normal. It has a little bit of reflection because it's graphite still. But if I compare it, this is the final result. So I have a light coming at me. So if I do this, you can see just a little bit of reflection, but nothing that makes the drawings unreadable. So I think in that sense it's completely a success. But actually when you compare it to these sketches, for instance, like it's night and day. Like, see this one? In this case you cannot see it properly, you cannot see the faces properly, in this one as well. So even though I love the Blackwing pencils, I will still use them because they're amazing, really good for blending and really black as well. I'm very pleased with this set. If you are a person like me that prefer the softer graphite, I would go for the higher numbers, so from 10, 12 and 14B. For me, they were the ones that I used the most. I used like the HB to do the first sketching and such, but then after a while I just prefer using the softer graphite because it's just my style and just the way I like to use the most. The eraser and the pencil sharpener, like, they work really well, and the smudging tool as well. Even though I think it's a bit tough, this one, but I think it's because I still have to use it a little bit. But like in general, I'm really pleased with this product. It has done the job well in terms of being extra resistant to breakage. I think, at least for now, I didn't have any problems of it breaking. I was not afraid to make pressure and really test it, and it behaved quite well. So I know that Farber-Castell is a great brand, but I didn't know. I was very curious and intrigued with this product, and honestly I'm not disappointed whatsoever. Actually, I think it's a hit. If it is something that you feel it's important for you and you don't like the reflection, I think this is a great product for you. And yeah, I really loved testing this, and let me know your opinions if you felt it was very different, or if after what I showed you, for you the normal graphite is still the go-to. So if you like this kind of videos, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!